Roll call, please.
Mayor Grieslock?
Here.
Mrs. Gatos?
Here.
Mr. Poach?
Here.
Mr. Harvey?
Here.
Mr. Wolfram?
Here.
Mr. Arasinko?
Here.
Mr. Williams?
Here.
Mr. Wilson?
Here.
Mr. Little?
Here.
Mr. Ratcher?
Here.
Ms. Rock?
Here.
Mr. Story?
Here.
Mr. Sedlak?
Here.
Mr. Weldon?
Here.
We're going to open our meeting with public comment on proposed agenda items only. Your comment time would be restricted just to the items that are on tonight's agenda. There will be another comment period at the end of this same meeting for any municipal issue. So if there's anyone who'd like to discuss any of the items that are on the agenda, now would be your time to do so. Seeing none, we're going to close that part of the meeting. We're going to move over to our executive session announcement that we have. The council conducted an executive session for personnel and litigation reasons prior to Citizens Night on Thursday, February 6, 2020, beginning at 6:30 p.m. until 7 p.m. Council legislative action, if any, shall be taken at the February 11th council meeting this evening. Moving over to our approval of minutes. Council, in front of you are the reorganization meeting of January 6, 2020 minutes, the minutes of Citizens Night meeting of January 6, 2020, of the council work session of January 6, 2020, and the regular council meeting of January 14, 2020.
So moved to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any comments, additions, or corrections, council? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
Mr. Poach?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Wolfram?
Aye.
Mr. Arasinko?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson, I'm sorry.
Aye. The ayes have it. Council, the reports of tax collections. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
Is there a
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Mr. Arasinko?
Aye.
Mr. Wolfram?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Poach?
Aye.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
The ayes have it. List of bills and budget transfers. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve. Any comments or questions, council? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
Mr. Poach?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Wolfram?
Aye.
Mr. Arasinko?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
The ayes have it. And all of these items were discussed at the Thursday, February 6th work session meeting. Payroll report, council. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve. Any comments? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
Mr. Poach?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Wolfram?
Aye.
Mr. Arasinko?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Council, we have vacancies on boards, commissions, and authorities. It's in your packet under the blue section if you turn to that page. Mrs. Gatos, anything this evening?
Yes, I have one. I would like to appoint Mr. Jimmy Johns to the Convention Visitors Bureau.
I'll second.
Second. Yeah.
We have a motion and a second to appoint. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
That's everyone I have tonight. Thank you.
Very good. Mr. Poach.
I have nothing else now, sir.
Mr. Harvey.
I would like to,
You know what, Ron, I'm
I'd
sorry.
like to back up.
Yeah,
I would like to pick up.
I did, I
Mr.
apologize.
Poach, anything this
I
evening?
believe we have to act on the library board vacancy, but it's not, the nominated is there, so there's no additional nominations, correct?
On the what?
Do that again, Eric.
Yeah, Mr. Poach, yeah, there is one, there is a nomination that's there, so.
It's in place, okay, that's fine.
Would you like to appoint?
Yes, please.
Go ahead.
Yeah, a motion to appoint Dennis McDaniel for the, to the library board. I beg your pardon.
We have,
Second.
that's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Yes, I do, and also for the zoning hearing board. Mr. Chuck Yaxtich, please, for the zoning hearing board vacancy.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to appoint. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you so much, I appreciate it.
No problem. You have a drink.
I have a slight case of erysinctitis, so that's
There you
another
go.
too.
What do you say?
Mayor, I believe I have a,
Very contagious.
I'm still working.
Tell him you're not done.
You know what?
He's still not done.
I'm still not done. Your Honor, I apologize. I'm trying to catch up here for the Planning Commission. Mr. Conway, which we nominated last time, too.
Second.
So that is a motion and a
Yes, sir.
second to appoint
To
Mr.
appoint.
Conway to the
Yes.
Planning Commission.
Sorry, Sharon.
You're fine. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
I'll stop now.
Mr. Poach, are you sure?
I hope.
Mr. Harvey?
I have nothing tonight.
Very good. Mr. Wolfram?
I have nothing at this time, Mayor.
Mr. Arsenko?
I do. You know, I've been looking for a Fifth Ward person for the Park and Rec, and I'm going to like to appoint Tracy Poach to replace our Fifth Ward vacancy, if you will.
Second.
That'd be a
Is that a
nomination.
Be
nomination?
nominated.
It's a nomination.
I'm sorry.
There's a motion to nominate and a second to nominate, Mrs. Gatos?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Mr. Arsenko, anything else?
That's it.
Very good. Mr. Williams?
Nothing.
Very good. Mr.
Mayor,
Williams?
I have Dennis McDaniel for the library board.
I'll second.
We got that one.
We just appointed him.
Tom, I apologize.
He was nominated on the 14th of January, so I'd
Yeah,
like to,
Mr. Poach
Yeah.
got that one on his roll. He is.
I didn't hear it either, so.
Tom, I apologize. I said, I just looked up at the library, I missed that.
that's
I apologize.
okay,
A little off
And you're
this
good.
evening.
I'm good.
He's appointed.
We know what we're doing.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson.
Mr. Wilson, anything else this evening?
That's all, thank you.
It is his. I'm going to sit down.
Very good.
Yeah, sit and be quiet.
Council, we're going to move over to our consent agenda, new business, 18-4-STR AR Building Company Incorporated.
About nothing else.
Mr. Little, please.
Yeah, the applicant is requesting site plan approval to construct 92-unit multi-level apartment building and associated site amenities. The property is located along Evergreen Drive. It's the intersection with Old William Penn Highway in the R5 multifamily residential zoning district. Planning Commission has recommended approval for this project.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Is there discussion?
Yes. I made sure with Mr. Wilden that they had put into writing in regards to the flagman that we had spoke about at Thursday meeting. That is added in there, so I think that should clear up a lot of the problems with the flow of the materials being delivered to the site. And if it doesn't work, we can always go back to it, but I think everyone's feeling that that's going to take care of the issue. So that's in here, and other than that, I think we're good.
And that was the only change to the conditional uses?
Correct.
I would like to tell the neighbors that there will be trucks on your streets on Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday.
Tuesday through Friday.
Barbie?
Hello.
State your name for the record.
I have aerosyncoitis, yeah. Jason Kambitsis. It goes around. You get in this room.
It's an outbreak, it's a horrible
Yeah.
disease, I can assure you.
Yeah,
It's a horrible
yeah,
disease.
it's highly contagious.
You think the coronavirus is bad, I'll tell you.
Yeah,
Take it easy down there.
so Jason
Jason, welcome.
Kambitsis, Kambitsis. I was right on the wall, you know. AR building. Yeah, it's Tuesday through Thursday.
Tuesday through Thursday.
Oh, I thought
Yeah.
it was Tuesday to Friday.
No.
No,
it's
just
through
Tuesday,
Thursday.
Wednesday, and Thursday. Okay, so 3 days a week, not 4.
Yeah, I mean, it could shift, but that's what we had it as,
Okay.
Tuesday through Thursday.
All right.
Yeah, so let's just inform the folks that there's going to be traffic, truck traffic there. How many trucks a day? Do you have an idea?
Two?
2.
2, okay.
Yeah.
So
That'll start
they're going to
tomorrow?
get them unloaded and get them out of there anyway, right?
Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah,
It's
it's
gonna
in our
be
best interest to get them moving.
Rather
so.
quick.
How long is that going to last?
For the first building, it'll last through March. When I mean first building, they're built in sections.
Yeah.
So it'll be 2 trucks coming down, and then we do the next section, it'll be about the same thing. So we've actually brought them up. We brought some framing on there through the way that we're allowed to do it. It's just once we get on site, it's very tight. And so that's really the reason to do that, to come around, because it's very hard to unload and do all that kind of work.
And
So
again, the time will be between 10 and 2?
that's when we're doing it,
Okay.
yep, and everybody knows that.
Yep.
And there's a sign as you turn off of Garden City Drive onto Evergreen that says no construction traffic, so you might want to put that aside until,
Yeah,
just in case, so neighbors don't misunderstand what's going on.
I will, and if you vote for it tonight, I'll move it tomorrow. I'll go move it right now.
Thank you.
You're trying to sound like me when you grow up, right?
Council, any other questions for the applicant?
Oh, thank you.
Very good. We have a motion and a second to approve.
Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Wilson.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Mr. Arcink.
Aye.
Mr. Wolfram.
Aye.
Mr. Harvey.
Aye.
Mr. Poach.
Aye.
Mrs. Gatos.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Look at your project. Council, we have three motions this evening. Mr. Little.
Okay, the first motion is the annual engineering services contract with MS Consultants, seeking a motion to approve the 2020 engineering services with MS Consultants.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Any comments, council? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Gatos.
Aye.
Mr. Poach.
Aye.
Mr. Harvey.
Aye.
Mr. Wolfram.
Aye.
Mr. Arcink.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Mr. Wilson.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Mr. Little.
Okay, the next two motions have to do with LGA Partners. A motion to hire LGA Partners of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania to provide architectural professional services with the renovation of the lobby for the existing Monroeville Senior Citizen Center to enhance the security and basic control of the entry for a cost not to exceed $19,700. Mr. David Schaefer, the architect for LGA, is here this evening. If council had any questions, Dave, you want to come up to the podium? Maybe just briefly explain a little bit about the proposal about the Senior Citizen Center?
Basically, as you have it listed here, that's the scope of the work. We were asked to come out and evaluate the security situation at the building, develop a new scheme to improve the security and a checkpoint, basically, for the senior center, and that's what this proposal includes.
I asked the question the other night, but I'm sorry, I don't recall the exact answer as to why it is more expensive than the borough buildings
So
proposal.
the senior center, that was the entire set of construction documents. So that's taking it from schematic design through construction documents, through construction. And the second proposal was for this building, and that's just schematic design and cost estimating.
So in other words, the senior building could go to bid whenever we so choose?
Correct.
Okay, directly from those documents.
Correct.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve?
Motion to approve. Is there, there's a second? Any other comments or questions, council?
Yes, Mayor.
Go ahead.
I would like LGA to work with our safety committee, and that's for council's edification. I don't want too many hands in the pile, so there's no misinformation is what it is. So if you'd work with our safety committee on issues that you'd
Absolutely.
like to present to them, and then they can present it to council, and then we can present it to our residents.
Certainly.
Yes.
Okay.
Good
Very
idea.
good. Any other comments or questions, council?
No?
We have a motion and a second to approve.
I don't know who seconded it.
Mr. Williams did.
Thank you.
And Mr. Arcink, was this for just the second or both motions?
For both.
And Mr. Williams, you're good with?
Second for both,
Second on
yes.
both. So we have a motion and a second to approve both motions. Any other comments, council? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Gatos.
Aye.
Mr. Poach.
Aye.
Mr. Harvey.
Aye.
Mr. Wolfram.
Aye.
Mr. Arcink.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Mr. Wilson.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Very
Sir,
good.
these are the
Okay.
same.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Slow down.
Both of them.
I'm not sure.
He's the chair for that too, though. That's just my work stuff.
Council, we have two
Thank you, sir.
resolutions this evening. Mr. Little.
Okay, the first one is a resolution we adopt annually authorizing the display of various event banners at the corner of the intersection of States Routes 22 and 28 within the right-of-way of property belonging to the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation.
Sure? I know. Motion.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any comments, council?
No.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Wilson.
Aye.
Mr. Williams. Mr. Arcink.
Aye.
Mr. Wolfram.
Aye.
Mr. Harvey.
Aye.
Mr. Poach.
Aye.
Mrs. Gatos.
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Okay, second resolution is authorizing the filing of a Keystone Recreation Park and Conservation Fund grant for the public library facilities for funds for a new air conditioning unit, repair of the entry vestibule, and repair, replacement of sidewalks, ramps, and stairways around the building. This will be for a total of approximately estimated about $450,000, and this will be a matching grant.
So move.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve. Any comments, council? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Gatos.
Aye.
Mr. Poach.
Aye.
Mr. Harvey.
Aye.
Mr. Wolfram.
Aye.
Mr. Arcink.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Mr. Wilson.
Aye.
Council, we have one ordinance this evening. Mr. Ratcher, please.
An ordinance amending ordinance number 848 regulating traffic, parking, and impounding of vehicles to authorize a multi-stop sign intersection on Bay Hill Drive at Newberry Drive. And this is in the Glenwood Plan in the 3rd Ward.
This is part of the traffic study that was done at their request, and I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion is second to approve. Any comments?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
on this impounding of vehicles, how much time we gotta give people if a car's parked on the street? Can we impound it immediately, or
48 hours.
I think the chief
That's
is
a
probably, he's out in the hallway, excuse me.
can we bring them in here?
Chief?
If it's obviously, if it's something that's creating an immediate emergency,
Okay,
blocking substantial traffic, it can be removed immediately. I think if it's something that's just somebody parking where they aren't, I think the police department typically gives them more time.
I think what they do is they put a warning on the car in an X amount of hours, 72 hours or something like that. If it's causing a problem with access to other roads or fire hydrants or, whatever, then they'll have it towed. And when it's towed, that's when it's impounded.
okay, thank you.
So don't park there, Mr. Williams. So we have a motion and a second to approve. Any other comments or questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Wilson.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Mr. Arsenko.
Aye.
Mr. Wolfram.
Aye.
Mr. Harvey.
Aye.
Mr. Poach.
Aye.
Mrs. Gatos.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Moving over to reports of our municipal staff. Mr. Ratcher, anything this evening?
I do have something for you. In some informal discussions with some of you, you have indicated a desire to review our regulations for landlords and tenants throughout the municipality. So I'm in the process of doing that. I'm looking at what we have existing on the books. From that point, we'll look at perhaps some enhancements that we can provide. We'll discuss them and go from there. So probably take a couple of months, but we probably definitely need some upgrades to what we currently have.
Great.
Very good.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank
That's all
you.
I have.
Thank you.
Mr. Little.
Okay, as I mentioned Thursday evening, college students, we are accepting the summer employment applications until April the 17th. So get the word out to get your application in and work either administratively or in the Public Works Department or most of the places. Also, number 2, I mentioned on Thursday night, the Northern Pike construction, where I mentioned last year for several months that they were going to close one road down, and they have to take out that hillside and probably put in gabion baskets to support that hillside. Well, now, PennDOT has informed us that they're going to close Northern Pike from Abers Creek up to Maria, up at Turnpike Gardens. They're going to close the entire road down for approximately 60 days. And Abers Creek will also be closed down for a portion of that too, either all of Abers Creek or a portion of it may be heading north. So, and I don't know, they haven't informed me when they're going to start construction. It's supposed to be sometime this spring. So that's not good news. I travel that way every day, so it's going to interrupt my travel. So, but that's what's going to happen in order to fix Northern Pike. It's starting to slip there a little bit. They've been keeping an eye on it for the last couple of years. The other item number 3 is we have another recycling event, which we normally do about 3 times a year down at the Public Works Facility on February the 15th, which is this Saturday from 2 to 9 by ECS&R out of Evans City. And if you want to register, it's always a good idea to register on our website to come down there and get rid of any kind of recycling materials. There is a cost for some of the electronics, hazardous waste, or whatever the case might be. Also, just a reminder for council, which I've talked to council, that everybody knows, we have that grant for the automatic doors, and the grant right now, the bid for that is being advertised right now. We have one company that has sought the bid. We're going to have a meeting on February the 25th. Bids will be open March 3rd, so in March we'll be awarding a bid for the automatic doors at the front, which has been long awaited now for about 2 years. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Little. Mr. Story, do you have anything to report from the Building and Engineering Department?
I've got nothing.
Okay. Ms. Rock?
No, I don't have anything this evening.
Okay, thank you. And we're going to open up the floor for public comments on any municipal item. Now be your time to address council. We always ask that you keep your comments to 5 minutes.
already signed in.
Very good,
My
welcome.
name is Robert Serafini. I'm a resident of Monroeville.
Welcome, Robert.
Thank you, sir. I had the pleasure of running into Mr. Poach here the other day, and I had just gotten my bill from the COG, and I questioned him on a couple items, and I wonder if Mr. Poach would enlighten me as to if he found out anything.
I did. I did, Mr. Serafini. Do you want to finish explaining what you were asking?
No, go ahead, just, you
So
go all the way.
You were just curious how the collections were going from using the COG as well this past year, and they've been doing a terrific job. To date, it's about $3.7 million was billed, with about $3.2 million was collected. The two differences in the outstanding balances have been those that are in dispute right now and being collected. And then there's about a $40-some thousand discrepancy of the, make it 100%. Just so happens that's the people paid early. So the early pay piece is working real well. So they're right up there in the 90-some odd % range of what we needed to have those high end of it too. So doing a good job.
Are we having any commercial establishments going against it and filing suit? Can you tell me some of the high ones?
Yeah, the biggest one's Monroeville Mall. They filed suit against us, probably of the .6, the $600,000 that's out there, 200 of that is theirs roughly.
Is there any more big ones?
There are some that are 10, 15,000. We're actually, the manager called me today while I was driving in my car and told me that the final tally is taking place right now, and then some of them that are of a larger nature. I would say that the other large one that's not been resolved, or large ones, are in the neighborhood of $10,000 or $15,000 a piece. And we're going to get a list of those, and they will be liened through our municipal lien process. And then we'll take it from there.
Have you gentlemen and ladies, have you ever gotten reports from the COG as to what's going on?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Regularly.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know, I don't think there's ever been anybody from the COG over here to explain anything or do anything. And I think it would be nice if one time they could come up and say stuff like Mr. Fulkerson does over here. He comes up and gives a report of what's going on. I think people would enjoy having someone enlighten them how the hell their money is going, you know? And I think you should invite someone up there sometime.
Sure.
Thank you. Or we
Okay.
should at least maybe put either a mid-year report on where the collections are, something like that. Put
Yeah,
that on
I
the
think
agenda.
that would be nice as to where the money's going and how it's coming in, all that.
Very good.
My second question was, Governor Wolf the other night on his address to the people of Pennsylvania stated the fact that all municipalities were going to have to pay for the state police. Did you hear that on it?
All municipalities that use the state police
use
for
them.
police.
No, he said all state
He said
police.
all.
He said all
Did
municipalities.
say all.
He did say, there's a lot of
Now,
confusion. in the
2 nights
reports.
later, it come out that that was no good. Now, I'm looking for a definitive answer as to which way it is. Now, I
Listen.
talked to our, Mr. Cole before the meeting, and he gave me an answer, and I want the people, other people than myself have asked me what that meant. Now, I'd like to have someone up here explain it so the people in the audience could hear.
That sounds like a great.
I don't think it's the municipality's legislation though, so we don't necessarily, we don't know. I mean, I know what I
What it
read in the
meant.
paper. That's it.
See, now, there's two differences of opinion, what Wolf said and what they said the other night. Now, I'm only stating this, that I talked to Mr. Cole before the meeting, and he stated the fact that will not affect us. Now, I'm just going by that, but I think by the next meeting, we should have a definitive answer.
Well, we haven't been notified in any way from the state saying, stating.
Well, like I said, we're 29,000 people, and one of the people in Westmoreland County Municipality is, what, 35,000 people, you said?
Enfield, yeah, sure.
Enfield.
And, yeah, and they're voting against it, you know, in the elections and everything. Now, I think they ought to pay. I don't think we ought to pay twice. We're paying on our taxes for the municipality, and then I don't think we ought to pay for those people
Agreed.
who don't want to
Agree
pay.
with
I agree with you.
yeah.
I'm
Everybody
100% in agreement.
The legislation I read in our publication that we get once a month, it's a local government magazine, the legislation that was proposed because the communities that use the state police were paying a low flat rate. They are changing the way they calculate that. But it definitely said the communities that use the state police for policing.
Not the way it's said on television.
But that's what it said in print.
Bob, part of the problem is, let's say, for example, I think Hempfield is going to be charged like 3.3 million. And the problem with that is, if Hempfield could afford their own police department, they wouldn't have the state police coming in. And at 3.3 million, they could afford their own police department.
Yes.
So I believe that that's part of the issue. And the way I read it was, everybody in the state will be paying toward that
That's the way he
state police.
stated on television.
That's the way I read it, but that doesn't mean.
Well, if we
it's right.
find out more, we can definitely notify the public, and then in the meantime, I would encourage you to contact Senator Brewster's office.
Okay, I just got a pamphlet from him today, so I will.
You have his number, good.
Yep, and like I said, if you
And tell
could,
them you're against it, okay?
I'm
You're
definitely
yeah,
against it. Like I said,
against it.
you gentlemen, I think we do a hell of a good job with the police here in Monroeville. And like I said, you don't call the state police in here. So, I mean, if I'm paying for it once, I don't want to pay again twice.
Me neither.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But I did.
Thank you, Robert.
Welcome. Will you just state your name for the record, please?
Yeah, my name is Alyssa Beck, for the record. Haven't been here in a while, so had to repeat.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year. Happy early Valentine's Day. I wanted to come be the bearer of great news. We're doing, and I sent invitations individually to the council people. Thank you, Mr. Arsenko, for letting me know that you're a working man and you can't make it.
Sorry.
But I just wanted to extend the invitation to everybody formally, not just at the front of the room, but also to the side of the room, to the back of the room, and to everybody watching. I'm gonna put this here so everybody who's watching can see. We're doing a Reimagine the Turtle Creek Watershed and Airshed Communities event. And we are in the Turtle Creek Watershed, and there's a whole bunch of communities that are in the Turtle Creek Watershed. And it's called, did they put it up there? I'm not watching.
We're having issues.
We're
with
having
technical
issues
oil.
tonight.
Technical
They'll-
issues.
they'll-
Wait,
they'll-
leave it there.
Okay, I'll leave it there.
Do we have the
Okay,
camera
so
up?
that's just the flyer for
There
it.
we go.
The flyer can also be found on the Sustainable Monroeville Facebook page. There's actually a Facebook page which is called Visioning Session 2 Sustainable Economic Transition. And, oh, there it is. Okay, and you can
Towards me a little
see,
bit, Dr. Beck.
what?
Just push it towards me a little bit.
Okay, so maybe you can see.
There you go.
Much better.
That looks good.
Oh, this is really a visual activity here to get it centered. Okay, so I can appreciate that
Yeah,
very
I was
much,
gonna say.
more than most people understand. Okay, so you can see the speakers there. One is Brandon Dennison, and I met him at the Heinz Awards last year, at the end of last year. He was one of 5 awardees, and he has this tremendous group. It's called Coalfield Development. If anybody's interested in looking it up, it's coalfield-development.org. He's an amazing young man who has hatched a lot of organizations and a lot of jobs for people that were former coal miners that were out of work. And so we're bringing him here. It's actually the event is going to be in Forest Hills. The first visioning session we had was in Braddock. Moving to Forest Hills, we'll probably move to Monroeville and then further into Westmoreland, where is also Turtle Creek. But I'm just inviting everybody. It's going to be a day-long event. It's free. It's sponsored by the League of Women Voters. Sustainable Monroeville is holding the kind of part of it too right now until there's actually a person that gets paid to do what I'm doing right here, which that's in the works, and it's not going to be me. But he's going to be speaking for a period of time. There's going to be Q&A, and then Patty DeMarco, who is a council person in Forest Hills, will be speaking about sustainable economic development. If you haven't been to that municipal building, please just come to see that building. I think I've spoken about it here before, but they have bioswales or rain gardens that collect rainwater. all around the building, plus in the parking lot. They have solar panels all over the top of the building. It's just a really neat kind of a thing. So I just wanted to invite everybody, including, and then I'll be done. You know, people in Monroeville, the different organizations which we haven't necessarily personally invited yet. Monroeville Chamber, the Monroeville Interfaith Ministerium participated in the last event. Folks from the Monroeville Library, the health and wellness communities, the senior center, the health, you know, everything. So that's what I wanted to say. And it's called Turtle Creek Watershed and Airshed Communities Plus. And so it is including different legislative districts, Brewster, Marcosic, Doyle. It's just to get people at the same table visioning. The afternoon is going to be experiential. What do we want to see in our region that gives back to the earth rather than taking from? So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Banks, listen.
Is there anyone else who would like to address council on any municipal item? You just sign in there, sir, and state your name for the record whenever you're ready.
My name is Paul Scott, and I just wanted to talk today real quick about my concerns about kind of an uptick in criminal activity in my neighborhood. I live on 203 Greenbelt Drive. Just recently we had the shooting incident, and previous to that there had been a police raid at a house on Leslie as well. And I was just curious if the council had any plans to take any type of proactive steps to help us prevent further incidents in our neighborhood.
Chief here?
Yeah, the chief.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
because-
there is there. Let's see if we can find Doug.
Well, what I was going to tell you is I don't think they're going to tell you much because most of that stuff is through the Attorney General's office, and they don't like.
Let's see. Yeah, let's see if we can get the
They're
chief.
they're working on
Okay.
locations in Monroeville, but they won't talk about them.
Okay.
Yeah, with the one event, yes, the first one, Mr. Harvey's correct. The most recent one, we've tracked down the homeowner who owns the house.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Because it's a rental.
Because it was a rental.
Rental,
Okay.
huh?
They've
Which
spoken
is
to
why
them.
our solicitor
And the
mentioned.
individual who owns the house, they live in one state, out of state.
Okay.
They were actually in another state for several months visiting family, so it took us a while to track them down. However, they are willing to go through the eviction process with their tenant. However, the tenant is voluntarily leaving, so they have 45 days to do so, which would be about mid-March now at this point, and if that does not happen, then legal action will be taken to the magistrates.
Okay.
Which is also why our solicitor mentioned about looking at our policies of like rentals and stuff, because we found that was part of that problem.
Okay.
Chief,
Okay.
this gentleman had a question about his neighborhood.
Could you repeat?
Yeah, I
that?
just had a question about, we had the shooting incident recently. Is there anything that's being done, I guess, more proactively to prevent for
Tell them where you
future
live.
incidents? I live on 203 Greenville Drive.
Well, I mean, obviously, we investigated that crime and solved it immediately, made arrests on it. The follow-up that we've done is still under investigation. I really can't comment about it. Certainly, we are in touch with neighbors in the area that are giving us information, and we're doing what we can to, increase the patrols in the area and make sure that it's kind of a hard thing to prevent because it comes out of whether it is associated with drug trafficking, and this was something that was met on a street that they didn't even live on that street. They lived back in the neighborhood, which was only one part of that party did. So, I mean, I'm really pleased with the response of our department and how quickly we were able to make arrests. And there will be more investigation that I really can't comment on, but and we certainly encourage anybody that has a house that they think suspicious to make sure that they call our dispatch center, and we'll get police officers to go check that, and we want to see that. That seems to be what happens. We have a lot of homes that something unusual's happened in the neighborhood. They're seeing more activity in and out. That they know something's wrong, and then they just don't call us. So we certainly try to
investigate based on other means, homes that are with in and out trafficking or with just unusual activity, but we really need the help of the community to let us know that that's happening.
Okay.
But I mean, we've certainly, you just heard about from the management side of this, we're trying to look at, with lack of a better word, calling absentee landlords, people that are renting these homes, and we're doing our best to see what we can do to kind of make them more accountable. I can assure you that though this house is being heavily looked at, and I think that some of the issues are going to solve themselves. But we did get cooperation with the person that owns that house. We've continued to be in contact with him, both myself and the mayor.
Chief, may I?
Absolutely.
I think if you would let the residents know that if they do call in, that their names will never be used, never come out publicly or anything to that effect. When they call in to say it's so-and-so.
Well, you can't say never, but our intent is to keep them anonymous. But the reality, in order for us to take this to the next level, anonymous complaints aren't as credible. Thank you for the credible as they would be if we have people that we can identify and say, hey, even though we wouldn't tell that name to anybody involved in that, but at least law enforcement knows that.
Well, no, I understand.
And we certainly, I mean, that's the reason people don't do it. I mean,
that's why I said that.
You're absolutely correct. They don't want to get themselves involved. They want to just stay out of it. But even if you say, listen, I'll give you my name, but don't obviously release it, we won't do that. But we want to follow up on those events that we think are suspicious, and that helps us put together information.
Well,
we can do a search warrant.
You do it like a neighborhood crime watch. I mean, if you see something that seems off to you, call.
Okay.
I mean, we want people to do that.
And we do.
They all can't be everywhere at all times. So, we always say to the public, let people know.
Nobody knows your neighborhood like you do.
Right.
Right.
We have a crime watch sort of in Garden City, and I'm sure those folks will be happy to sit down with you and help you organize your own crime watch over that way.
Is there any particular name that we can contact to talk to about
Betsy Desmond, but she's out of town right now.
Yeah.
But if you want,
We can provide that.
If you hold on, I'll give you her phone number.
I can also tell you, one of the things that's happening with the crime watch are great ideas, and we certainly want neighbors to be involved and be neighbors, is really what it comes down to. But social media has hit us pretty hard here, which one of the positives of that is we were able to share information. And, that seems to be taking a few of the places of the crime watches that you saw previously. Where you saw more organizations where you had meetings and all that, Tom, it's now being done more electronically, which isn't a bad thing. It's a good thing. It gets more people involved in it. You can do it just tapping on your phone. So we are actually looking even for the police department to have a more presence. We have a Facebook page that Tina Mueller and our new IT person we have downstairs, Brian Hoffman, they keep that up and try to update things as we go on with that. We certainly can give tips there. You can give tips through Nexel. We have that Nexel system. If you get involved in that, you can send anonymous tips through there. And then the other thing is really easy just to do because we're blessed to still, our elected officials have still funded a dispatch center that costs us a pretty penny here. We could call a dispatch center and get immediate response just with a phone call. So I can assure you that there's a lot of things being looked at there. There's ongoing investigations still involving the houses that were involved, or the house that was involved in it. And we certainly intend to prosecute the people that we arrested to the fullest extent here.
And then the Nixle system's also available on the municipal webpage.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an alerting system to tell you. We try to keep up with that. That night we didn't get that out as quick as we wanted to, but we try to keep up with any major event, road closure. It's actually a good thing to have on your. But you can also send anonymous and send even not anonymous. You can send tips and crime watch type.
It's a good system.
All right.
It's a good system.
All right. It's good to know because I didn't know about it before now.
Okay, well, and we've always encouraged that anybody we talk to in law enforcement, we want the community to be involved and to give us information. That's how we solve it. It's all about information. And, certainly, we may not move as quick as you like because there's a lot of things that we have to dot the i's and cross the t's per se, but we certainly want any information we can get from any of the neighborhoods, anybody, any resident whatsoever, right? Anybody even just passing through town here.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Thanks, Mr.
Chief.
Scott.
Yeah.
Good luck. Yeah.
Maybe you could comment on Mr. Serafini's issue.
I really don't.
Is the state going to charge us for police?
I don't think so. Ron. I think what's happened, there's been the governor has had numerous, he's tried to do it for the past 3 or 4 years, actually, where he's looking where the state police are primary the law enforcement agency. The way the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania is set up, each individual municipality can have their own police department. If you do not like some other places in the country where the county becomes responsible, they're not. The Pennsylvania State Police are responsible, as you well know, okay? So I'm just giving that for the viewing public here. So the state police become the primary law enforcement. Obviously, the Pennsylvania State Police, if you look at the area they cover, it's humongous compared to the city of Philadelphia, the county of Allegheny, Pittsburgh, Monroeville, all those areas that have their own police departments. So in doing that, they have been incurring a lot of expenses, and they are trying to offset that by forcing municipalities, especially some of the larger ones, Hempfield Township you talked about, Unity Township, just using Westmoreland County. But there are a ton out east, and there are a lot in the central part of the state that they're trying to make them have to pay some fee per capita, per population, to the state to provide primary law enforcement. It's not fair that municipalities like the city of Pittsburgh and Monroeville that pay millions of dollars to have law enforcement protection. These other places are using our state tax dollars to have their law enforcement protection. So that's the thought process on it. Where it's going to go, I have no idea, but that's what it was. I think there was a misquote somewhere, which is why Mr. Serafini was so concerned that he said he was just going to charge every resident a certain fee. That has never been what I've seen of the proposals. It's always been that the municipalities that use the state police as the primary policing.
I think the advice given to Mr. Serafini was correct, to talk to Mr. Brewster, I think he was.
Absolutely. And right now in Allegheny County, there's obviously East Pittsburgh, and there's there's a couple departments that use the state police at night.
County?
Wilmerding's with the county.
Yes.
But East Pittsburgh, and I think Braddock one of the other communities in that area only have policing during the daylight hours, and the state police do it at night. And there's areas in the northern part of the county, Fawn Township up that way, toward Trentham and toward I guess Butler County, that way, Westmoreland County, where there are some departments up there, some small communities that depend on the state police to provide primary policing for them. So,
just so everybody knows, and I've had a report from the PSBA as well as the Allegheny County Borough Association on that, communities 5,000 and under are not going to be charged. That's
again,
what's in the proposal.
That was, so I don't know, again, this was something, I think it's just a budget proposal that the governor's made. It hasn't gone anywhere to pass.
No, agreed.
Yeah, so I don't know where where it's got some legs, it's going this way, but I really don't think it's going to affect any residents in Monroe.
But it's not going, and I agree with the chief that even, because we've presented it to the state as well from the Boroughs Association of Allegheny County, and it is for those that do not have their own police department. They're going to be charged, not folks like us in cities that have the police departments. So,
did I answer your question?
I hope so.
Okay, thanks.
But definitely talk to Senator Brewster, though. He'll give you the same info.
My intentions are.
Are there any municipal residents that would like to address council on any municipal item? Seeing none, I'm going to close that part of the meeting and we'll move over to our reports of our council members. Mrs. Gatos, report this evening.
Just a couple things. Condolences to the Ritter family. Mr. Ritter sits on the school board, and the Ritters are very well known throughout Monroeville, and they lost one of their siblings, Jeannie. She was 50, I think 56, if I'm not mistaken. So I grew up with the Ritters, and so my condolences to the entire family on that loss. I know all too well what it's like to lose a sibling. It's not easy. And of course, happy Valentine's Day to everyone, especially my husband. And in the times that we remember to tell people happy Valentine's Day, that we love them, let's remember just to be kind to each other. And that's all I have tonight.
Very good. Thank you, Mrs. Gatos. Mr. Poach.
I'll try to keep going as long as my voice holds out.
Aren't we lucky?
As well as I don't lose my place. Yeah, I don't have an Aracinco moment. Just one thing to report on too. Once again, kudos to the folks from Public Works and Mike Strom and the guys and the work that they did at the library. They had a function this past Saturday. It was terrific. Bob and Steve were there as well too. And the space they did, please tell the fellows what a great job. It was really well received. Please pass that along to them as well. We're also, as a continued follow-up, we have not lost track. We're trying to coordinate our next meeting with our group of our community pool folks as well. We're coordinating the dates right now, Mr. Harvey, Mr. Little, the mayor, myself, and their representatives, so we're moving forward. We kind of have a self-imposed deadline of April to come to get things done with them as well, and our Parks and Rec folks are moving forward too, so I hope to be able to talk about that as well. And I drew hard to remind me to say Happy Valentine's Day to my wife as well, and good luck to my daughter at the moment, who's in New Zealand for her long, so I'll be nervous about that for some time. And all right, that's all, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Harvey?
The only thing I wanted to say, we talked about it a little bit earlier, the Public Safety Committee is going to gear back up for the new year. I have a little bit of change in schedule because Mr. Poach is scheduled, but we'll get that worked out, and then hopefully the architect and them will pass on their suggestions to us and come to that meeting, because I'm going to invite them. He gave me his card.
Yes.
And other than that, happy Valentine's Day to my wife and my daughter.
Wolfram?
I have just a certain areas, things we talked about in the back room here about the lighting on certain streets I have in my area. Again, I will pursue that and see what I can do about that. Other than that, wish everybody happy Valentine's Day, and that's it, man.
Very good. Mr. Ursinko?
Yeah, I have a couple of issues I'm going to bring up. First off, condolences to the Ritter family. I did not know that. I apologize for it to the family, but definitely condolences. Happy Valentine's Day to my lovely wife for putting up with me for all these years.
God bless you, Holly.
Now, on a serious
Your
note,
saints.
our 36th anniversary was last week, and I
Congratulations.
wish I could have
All
said
right,
a
do
lot
that
more, but I hear, but what are you going to do? As everybody knows, I've been talking in regards to the Allegheny County Boroughs Association and my activities on there, and now I'm moving up to the Pennsylvania State Boroughs Association. For those of that with our annual banquet, they heard me bring up a few issues, and I'd like to do it here as well, and I'm bringing this up to the state level. It has to do with human trafficking. I've been a big proponent of fighting that. I want to thank Chief and our police department for their good work in that. As you well know, at one time, Monroeville had 5 massage parlors. In Monroeville, we closed them all down. Sad to say, they're trying to knock on a door and get back in, and I'm hoping we can tighten up our zoning and anything else. But I'm going to be talking to that issue at the state, that our legislators in Harrisburg have to help us. I mean, look at what they do to the neighborhoods. They denigrate your neighborhood. They bring down property values. Human trafficking, which is, I think, just disgusting. And just for some statistics, 65% of the human trafficking are females. The other 35% are young boys and children. That's disgusting. We need to do something with that. And I'm hoping we get some help from our state. The other issue I brought up for everybody is what happened to us as a society on agreeing to talk to each other, free speech, if you will. It's okay that you disagree with me or I disagree with you. How about let's just be saying, I realize that more at the national level, Washington's gone crazy, okay? And I'm just going to say it how it is. I think they're all nuts down there. I mean, the way they're acting. And I've said is, I've talked to some folks here. If I disagree with them, I'm just not a good person. That's sad. We need to start getting back to some civility, if you will. It's okay to disagree with each other. Build a bridge. And if you can't build a bridge, move on to the next subject. Say, you know what, Steve, it's okay, we're disagree, and you move on. The other issue I didn't bring up, and I'm going to talk about it a lot, is socialism and the bad effects of it. Our young people, and now the good news is, I'll give you good news on that end about our young people, but socialism has never worked. I'm just asking everybody, even if you're considering it, do your homework. Look at Venezuela. Look at the old Soviet Union. Not one of those societies survived. And that's a big issue for me, and it seems to be sweeping across the state. A lot of people are saying socialism's great. It is not. I'm just hoping our young people will educate themselves. The good news is, some of you probably don't know, or many of you don't know, I do work part-time for Boyce Park, and I was with probably about 60 young people between 17 and 22. The overwhelming majority of them, we're in good shape. They really do think with some common sense. They know socialism is not good. They know that there's nothing free. And it just made me feel good that this generation, the millennials or whatever they call them, there's still a lot of good hope with them. Last but not least, I want to talk about our police and honoring. It's sad what happened in New York. Again, here we are. People are targeting our police. God forbid if we didn't have them. Who would you call? It's between us and the crazies. Who stops us is our police. Please, thank every police officer you see. Thank them for their service. I'm going to be talking about honoring them at the state level. We need to do more to let them know we do appreciate and care about the service they provide to all of us. They allow us to come to work safely, play safely, and live in your home safely. What would we do without them? My last note is, please, we live in the greatest country in the world. Do we have problems? Yeah, we do. And do we have issues? Yes, we do. You don't like America? Get the hell out. That's how I mean that from
Yes.
This is a great country. Yes, we have problems, but we sit down and work it out. And am I going to be on the podium up there saying the same thing at the state? Yes, I am. And I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, it took a long time, but thank you for your time.
You're entitled to it. Very good. Mr. Williams?
I have a couple things. Don't forget February 14th is Valentine's Day. I want to wish everybody a happy Valentine's Day. 2037 McKinney Drive, there's a house there that's in deplorable condition. The land bank is moving forward and fixing that house. And the other thing is American Heart monthly support, that's February. Downstairs, the Monroeville Parts Department is heading up a drive. The hearts cost $1, and the public come out, go to the first floor, and give them $1, put your heart on the wall. Anybody that ever had any heart issues at all, or family with heart issues, you know the American Heart Society does a great job. The other thing is, Mr. Little, now the MS4 money, I understand, people are confused and they think Turtle Creek COG gets the money. That money is used for Monroeville, that's collected by Monroeville, is that correct?
That is correct. The Turtle Creek Valley COG is only the collection agency.
Okay. The other thing is, we got a nice report on the police department. One of our new officers was driving down the road, there's a funeral procession, and he took it on his own to step in, put the lights on, block the intersection, and let the funeral procession go. And anytime we get a nice report like that, we appreciate it, and it causes Monroeville to look good, causes our police department to look good, and the public appreciates it. The other thing, condolences to the Ritter family. I have Joe Ritter lives just a few doors from me, and I did not hear about that. But anyhow, the last thing is that we all got a letter from Boy Scout Troop of America 184. There's 3 individual young men that did projects, and I would ask the mayor if he would write a letter on behalf of council to these 3 individuals.
A proclamation.
Proclamation.
Yes.
Proclamation.
Well, I can do that, yes, but also there with Eagle Scout, when these gentlemen attain Eagle Scout status, they ask for letters from community members, and I typically do write a letter that it goes in a binder for each of the individuals that get the Eagle Scout rank. And I'm happy to do that, as I was planning on it before as well. But I can do a proclamation as well on top of that, and in my letter I can write some language that says that on behalf of council as well. So yeah, we'll make sure that they get recognized, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
And that's all I have for my report.
CCS?
I'll dictate it, you can type it.
I think I'll dictate.
Anything else, Mr. Williams?
That's all
Very
my
good.
report.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I have a couple of things. First of all, happy Valentine's Day to my wife and to everybody out there. Have a safe one. I'd like to thank council for moving forward with the senior center. That officer that Mr. Williams spoke about is Officer Joe Miller, and Joe's been around for a while, and we're just lucky to have people like that. And that's about it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Yes, and I want to stress my condolences to John Ritter and his family as well for the loss of their sibling. And yes, Mr. Williams mentioned the Park and Rec Department is selling the paper hearts for the American Heart Association, so please let's support that cause. And I want to wish a happy Valentine's Day to my Valentines, Tara, Hannah, and Allie. And lastly, as we mentioned, as the chief mentioned, as council mentioned, please, anyone, neighbors, you know your neighborhood the best. You know who belongs there, who doesn't, maybe what's out of the ordinary and what isn't. Neighbors are typically the best code enforcers we have, so please don't hesitate to let the police department know, or your council representative know, or myself know if anything seems awry in your neighborhood, whether that is activity that's just not quite right, or property maintenance issues. We need to know these things. As soon as we find out, we can get some eyes on that. So we all need to work together in making this the best community that it can be. So,
Mayor,
with
please,
that,
1 second.
Yes.
We talked about the Nixle system, and I gave the gentleman the number. Anyone that doesn't know what it is, you text your zip code to 888-777, and then you will start to get the alerts as a message on your phone. So that's how
Very
you do
good.
the Nixle.
Yeah, and if you didn't catch that, it's on the municipal website as well. But it's a one, as the chief mentioned, it's a way for us to push out information, and we try to do that to the best of our ability.
Yes.
So with that, I would seek a motion. To adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Thank you and good night.